From Plant Lab in Austin, Texas, this is Stacker News Live!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Stacker News Live. This is Car, and I forgot to check this, Keyan. Let me double check this. Hang on a second.
Yeah, audio.
Let me double check on this. It's been one of those days where I literally forgot to check.
This will be fun.
Here,
people get to see a little behind the scenes.
Let me see if this is working.
Blooper.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Stacker Say something.
Hello.
This is Car, and I forgot to check this, Keyan. Double check this.
Blooper reel.
Yeah, audio. There you go. It's working.
Cool.
So for people that don't know, today we had a Sats by Startup Day here at Plub Lab. So my brain's like fried. But Keyan has been working hard diligently all day at Stacker News. Keyan, how's your week?
My week was good. It was a good week. Time passed. The weather changed in Austin. It got colder. I know everyone's really interested in Austin's weather. It's crazy here.
Did you see the tornado last night?
There was a tornado? Where?
So right here in like Sabine, it was the rain went sideways. It was swirling, stuff got knocked over.
Oh, like like a small one.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
That's crazy.
Baby tornado. Yeah. Sats by, how do you feel like Sats by was? Let's get a first impression. I know you haven't had time to process it. We went straight from Sats by the last talk, 15 minutes after I point at Car. And I'm like, let's do Stacker News Live.
Yeah, he was ready. I think overall, I'm really extremely happy with the startups that presented, the projects that presented, the people that came. Grateful for you and other people that have been doing startups for a while in the Bitcoin space, still new but still growing. Oshi, and then people that came, out of their way, like Sean, Ted, and I can keep naming all of them, Max, and that we're able to bestow some kind of like, hey, it's going to be all right. We're getting through it together. It's a bear market, but we're learning. I think overall, I was just really impressed with like everybody's knowledge. I realized personally that I don't know a lot of things, and I need to go back and look at the tape because there was a couple of acronyms where they were talking about business strategy and stuff like that. For myself, I'm like, oh, I need to go learn that. So I have a list.
Do you have one? And
Sean mentioned one. He mentioned two. It was Santos mentioned one. And then
CAC,
Austin.
There's CAC. There's TAM. There's a lot of them that are like whatever.
Like no, but they're important though because the people that are doing them, right? Like Santos from Zebedee. Like Zebedee's a very, established company in the space.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with Sean. Sean's been doing it for a while now. I think he knows it. So it's like learning from the experts and like people that are doing it. So I thought it was super, super humbling. And it was kind of like a panic, like, oh man, I don't know these things. I need to go learn these things. So yeah.
Yeah. And the nice thing about at least the acronyms and stuff, it's pretty easy. A lot of the business stuff, it's pretty easy to learn. It's like it's really the building part that's hard, but the business stuff. I mean, it's good to know it because like when so that you aren't like stopping people you talk to ask them to explain every little thing. But yeah, it's really cool. Really cool to hear from everyone. I was in my office most of the time behind the stage, but I could listen to it like it was a live podcast I was listening to while I was working. And
for the stackers that don't know, we set up the thing to where it was blocking Keyan's door. So I went up to him like Wednesday and I was like, hey, how do you feel about us blocking your door? He's like, I
was sort of resistant at first, to be honest.
but then you saw the bigger light. So it was cool. With that, let's get into the top 5 stories of the week. Our first one is a big one. It's a stablecoin USDC just depegged. It's now 0.93 USD now. Edit 0.91. This is from Sand Beach 123. 32 comments, 3,268 sats. Keyan, what is this about?
Yeah, so USDC depegged. I think it's like the second biggest stable coin by market cap following Tether. And, these things are supposed to hold their peg to the dollar. That's like that's their main value is like, this is basically a dollar that you can use like a cryptocurrency. But it dropped all the way down to, it looks like 87 cents on March 11th, which was, I think, this past Saturday. and that was like following all the SVB stuff. I don't know, Silicon Valley Bank stuff, which they had $3.3 billion in reserves at Silicon Valley Bank. And so there was, I don't know, some panic selling around that. We'll get into that a little bit later, and why, that panic has been like resolved by government intervention. But yeah, it was a pretty big deal, because this is potentially catastrophic. There's a lot of people who hold quite a bit of money in USDC, usually planning to trade it for other, I think it's mostly used by traders. I actually don't know much about the stablecoin market. I think in other countries, they also use it as as their own store of wealth, because it's like the lesser evil to their own native currency. But
I like what Zazon said. He got 25 sats for this. He goes, "Grab your popcorn, guys. It's fireworks time."
I know.
Gosh. And then B Jackson 2718 said, "I've never felt more cozy with BTC in cold storage." How are you feeling, Keyan, about this whole thing? I can give you my thoughts afterwards, but how are you feeling with this whole kind of thing that flushed out? We saw it kind of.
Well, what's kind of weird is like, it really was a serious panic over the weekend. Everyone was like, what is going to happen? We were all anticipating like serious things happening in the kind of like macro environment. And then now it's like back to normal. It's like nothing happened, which should scare you, because it's basically like you got a shot of epinephrine and you have a broken ankle. I don't know if that's like the right medical analogy, but you're walking on a broken ankle. You can't feel it because you've gotten treated for it, but you should.
No, that's a great analogy.
You should be concerned, because we're probably doing a bunch of damage right now, but just to make it feel like, okay. Yeah.
But like, it's kind of like a sports topic, right? It's like, we're going to pump you with whatever, get back out there second half. That's kind of what that's a great analogy. I think for me, just seeing all the stuff that happened on Twitter, seeing the people in the space talk about it a little bit more was really eye-opening, shedding some light on that. I know Marty had one on Monday that everybody was listening to it here at Pleb Lab. It's great that a lot of us are on top of this and we stay up to date on this kind of stuff. I think for me, like seeing the emails from banks, I don't know if you got some of those, but like it was strange seeing those come from, I don't want to dox our stuff, but like strange seeing from banks, like, hey, like the way they were wording things was really interesting to me, because it was just like, I've never seen that before in my lifetime. I can think of.
They were trying to stave off panic and people fleeing their own banks, which would create serious problems for them. They could potentially turn into another SVB, or people are doing a run on their own bank. Some of these banks acted so fast. It's pretty cool. Like, I got an email today from Mercury that said that their reserves they now have insurance up to $5 million, which is way over. I think that's like 20 times what is actually legally required. But they use something called, I guess, like a sweep network of banks, where they disperse your deposits across several like child banks. Wow. And then each of those is FDIC insured up to $250,000. And so you get this $5 million insurance. But it's crazy.
I saw an interesting you bring that up. I saw an interesting thread from Angel List on Twitter. They were saying that they were able to give people loans if they needed some kind of money in that situation, and that they built it over the weekend and stuff. So there's just a lot of, I don't know what you call that, but it's for me, just being practical and rational about this. It's good to see that some of these technology companies are stepping up and trying to do what they can, with everything that's going on. Obviously, as Bitcoiners, we know that Bitcoin and cold storage is good. So
it's better.
Oh, Super Testnet. How you doing?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh,
we have
a Super Testnet.
We have an offset.
He's grabbing things.
Person.
Oh, okay. We'll go into the next top story. It's a wild day at Pleb Lab. Our next top story is Trust is a scaling solution. This is 15 comments from WEF official, 13.9K sats. Keyan, what is this about?
So this is actually Paul's, future Paul. His website, apparently he lost his log, and he probably probably did like a lightning login and then lost access to the wallet which is a very common thing I run into, common customer support issue I have. But he posted this from his new account, WEF Official, and it's a really fun website. Let me see if I can pull up the whole thing. Paul has this like, what you explained Paul's design aesthetic to me one time. I think it was like anti-design is like what you, I think
I don't want to speak for Paul.
I know, but I think he described it. You were relaying how Paul described it.
But Car's memory is always foggy. So
Okay.
take that with a grain of salt.
My memory of your memory of what Paul said was that he's into like anti-design, and this is a pretty good example of it.
I actually looked at it was like more of a choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
So me and Paul did a podcast on Thriller like 3 or 4 weeks back, and we kind of went into all of this. And I described it at the time as like choose your own adventure, but it was these thoughts and these ideas and these writings that he's been kind of like building up in himself and thinking through and like talking it to people around Austin about, and like really trying to figure out like what is trust and like how do we view trust, and like and he's come up with trust as a scaling solution. I think it's a brilliant post. It's a collection of essays from somebody I really respect as not only as a person but as a builder in the space and doing great things with Mutiny and Voltage. So I think it's amazing. I think I like from what P.I. Chop said. He goes, aside from being impossible to read, I like this a lot. Thank you. So
yeah, these are really good. I mean, so Paul is one person I wish would release more work because he is so thoughtful, and he's his presentation today was great, like very well thought out. I recently watched his video tutorial of Flow 2.0, which was this product from Voltage, this just-in-time liquidity tool they provided, and it was great as well. And this is also great. This is kind of a great representation, I think, of Paul and his thinking. But I've read like about half of these probably, but they're all really good. For instance, this one kind of talks about like why people fall for scams, and that maybe part of the motivation is that they are somehow different, and they're just kind of they're just conforming to what kind of everyone else is doing, and they're not actually, they're not, maybe they should be evil to get rich, this kind of thing. Just kind of, diving deep into that kind of thing. It's maybe a poor representation of that. I just recommend reading it. The other, I would say pretty representative of the whole collection, this is probably my favorite one, is Trust as a Scaling Solution. I mean, that's actually the title of the page, but I think this is probably my favorite concept, in that we usually layer on trust to make something more efficient, and that, that's not necessarily good. Trust has costs to it. It's just we do it to make it a little more efficient.
I think one of the things that I kind of took away from this collection of essays was that, trust, you give trust to, like, I trust you, but how much do I trust you? Do I trust you with 5 Bitcoin? I don't know, but do I trust you with like 20 million sats?
You should trust 10 million sats.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just kind of those you really kind of step outside and see like, oh, you do trust people differently. And over time they gain more trust. So I thought it was a great essay. I will say, this is just a side note, not related to this. Have you, just for me and seeing the day and like everything, just kind of reflecting now, just kind of pumped up. I think it's really fascinating to see somebody's journey from when you first meet them and then to where they are now, and like how much they've learned and leveled up and stuff. Paul's a perfect example of that. Like meeting him when I first met him in like 2021 to where, it's cool to see that journey he's made and like what he's done just as like as a friend, but also like you too. Like it's, don't you think that's interesting? Like how that works. And Bitcoin, especially, we can kind of see it. Yeah,
no, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily specifically in Bitcoin, but just like the experience of people is really fun to watch. I mean, that's basically what every movie, every story attempts to capture is what our living, like what we can experience in our lives, like our lived experience. And I remember I first met Paul, I think at ABC, like either the first or the second one. And it was really pleasant meeting him. And then I began to learn how like deep of a thinker he was. Cause I think he tends to be pretty humble and
absolutely.
like pretty like holds back his profundity or whatever. And, it was like only a little bit later when he was working on our Pleb Lab office in Capital Factory that I realized, oh, there's like a lot of like depth here he just hides for some reason.
I think it's also growth, right? Like you just see the growth. Like I don't know. I just say it's amazing to be around such inspiring people. Like, it's just really cool.
Heck yeah.
The next top story is RoboSats trying to find how hackers stole 5 million sats from its on-chain swaps feature. This is 17 comments from peer-to-peer Bitcoin, 1,926 sats. Keyan, what happened with RoboSats? I didn't hear about this.
Oh yeah. So they have like some kind of on-chain swap feature where you can get your, while the exchange deals in Lightning exclusively, I think on the payer side or the buyer side, you can, I mean, it might also deal on chain, but I guess you can swap the payment that you've received in Lightning over Lightning for on chain using their service. And someone took advantage, I think, of a race condition in it. Here is the initial post, I believe, or this is like, I think this is a little bit, there might be one before this that kind of, here we go. This is where they turned off swaps because there was a bug that someone exploited to get 5 million sats. And before, they didn't really know what the cause was, I think, initially. And they were kind of asking the person who I guess exploited the bug to come forward and discuss it. But they, I think, eventually figured it out. Maybe the person did disclose, they didn't say, but they realized it looks like it was some kind of race condition. A race condition meaning there are two things that happen, and one you don't know which one is going to win or not. And that in programming, that's usually bad because you want things to be predictable and say this thing is going to win, that thing is going to come second place. But for the way their system was designed, I guess they couldn't control which would happen first. And in some situations, but they wanted to control it. And in some situations, it would happen in the opposite order, leading to this exploit. And they've since fixed it by apparently like queuing them up, which is likely like serializing these things so that they all happen in order. That's pretty much it. I didn't even know they had the swap feature. They've been really building this thing out. I'm kind of curious what kind of growth they're seeing.
Yeah, I don't know if they share that on.
Yeah,
Rook? I think was it Rook sharing that like a year
ago? Maybe they were sharing it here. I mean, here we have. This was last month, or no, 3. Yeah, okay. They're clear. So you guys have doxed yourself as being from Europe. You have fucked up dates where your month comes after your day. Do you see that, Car?
I didn't know that was a thing.
10-3 rather than 3-10.
Is that a thing? Really? Yeah. Can you really?
Yeah, that's usually a European thing.
Okay.
So I know where you guys are from. I know the continent you're on now.
Keyan's had 5-6 beers at this point, I'm sure.
2 beers, but I'm drunk.
We had Tamales or Tom Lays said, this is exactly why Bitcoin is built on simplicity and elegant cryptography with decades of real world usage instead of the newest and shiniest complicated ZK proofs. Darth Coin insert moon blankety blank meme here, please. And then Darth Coin said, why is this related? Do you think that's necessarily true? It's kind of a spicy way to say something. I don't know.
I don't know why he's picking a fight with RoboSats. I think what they're doing is generally good. And like it seems like the lowest trust way to exchange Bitcoin digitally.
Right.
other than dealing with someone in person, which a lot of people don't want to do. So I don't see why anyone would take a stab at them. They seem to be good actors to me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, great. That's big news. The next top story is Nostr signing device. $10 fiat, easy build FOSS has a YouTube video. This is 7 comments, 5,749 sats from Darthcoin. What is this? Is this Ben Ark?
This is Ben Ark.
Wow.
The famous Ben Ark. He apparently built this little Nostr signing device, which allows you to sign, where you can keep your Nostr private keys offline or like air gapped, and sign for posting things on Nostr. So you have a little bit more secure key management for Nostr. It uses a browser extension that communicates with the signer. And that's about it. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's like a little $10 device, it says here. You can build it yourself. They also sell it on Ellenbitz's marketplace, I believe, for I think $20, but you get the case and everything with it.
Yeah, the bear market's for building. So here at PlebLab, we've actually gotten an arcade from Ellenbitz. 2 more stuff came in. I don't know if you saw it in the maker thing. We have a what do you call those things? It's like you come down and grab it, one of those things. And then we also have a bubble gum thing, but like it's all the stuff we need to still set up. But I will say this, the way it gets shipped is perfect. The instructions, everything's there. He makes it really easy for you to like get started building these things. It comes more equipped than like, those Amazon packages that you would see, but you're supporting something really cool. And dude, we need to get some of these for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think they're cool. I mean, you could see a future where this is maybe how you use social media, where you use it like you use your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty dope.
Especially if you can cook it on your keychain, then you can just do that really quickly, like a YubiKey or something. MF said yes. He said yes. Stacker loved it. At the bottom, you scroll down, he just has like a yeah.
There is something super cool about it.
Yeah, it is really cool. Next top story is micropayments and the Lightning Network. This is from BS Lucas. 7 comments, 5,950 sats. What's going on here?
Yeah, so this is a really good post if you're interested in micropayments, understanding the history of it. I went farther back than I even had in my own research of micropayments, citing like prior attempts at micropayments, the prior attempts at specification, Clay Shirky's, I always forget how to pronounce, I always mispronounce his name, but Clay Shirky, who was like an early internet thinker, wrote a lot on the internet, has a lot to say about things that were developing on the internet around the year 2000 or so, probably earlier too. And then he also cites Nick Szabo's pieces on micropayments, kind of lays out like the state of micropayments pre-Lightning very well. If you're curious, I highly recommend this. You could get up to speed. He links to kind of everything in here. But the main, so there were 2 arguments that were cited as preventing micropayments from working prior to Lightning. One was like technologically, it required a custodian in the case of the traditional financial system because, fiat payment rails just kind of suck. And then the other one was mental transaction costs, which most Bitcoiners are familiar with micropayments and mental transaction costs from Szabo. But this was also Clay Shirky also wrote a similar piece where micropayments, just kind of won't work because of the mental transaction costs. And we basically saw a web develop under that assumption. And so we have ads now where a third party is paying for, Twitter or Facebook to run, and you're the product now. We also saw another alternative to micropayments was kind of aggregation where you have subscriptions, et cetera. And so like the current state of the web is like basically what we get without micropayments. And then he kind of goes into describing, Bitcoin, how it works, some of the technology that might enable micropayments that are many of which are built on Lightning now that Bitcoin base layer is, a little more expensive. Yeah, and kind of lays out kind of how Lightning works to maybe someone who maybe isn't super familiar with the whole technology stack and what's possible on it. Unfortunately, it doesn't go too far. It doesn't really predict the future, which is kind of what I wanted him to do, was to build up this nice history, to understand Lightning, combine them, and that equals a beautiful history or a beautiful future for what how Lightning will fix the micropayment issues that are cited previously. But still a really good piece. Maybe someone else can write the follow up on what the future will be. I think Gigi does a pretty good job of that. But yeah, I thought it was a really great piece. And pretty thorough in general.
Yeah, I'm wondering, did he mention Nostr at all as far as like a payment rail?
Yeah, he listed a bunch of projects here. I thought.
Oh, he did. Okay, cool.
Yeah, actually, he didn't
mention Stacker News.
He did mention Stacker News, but he didn't mention. I'm surprised he didn't mention Nostr stuff. Okay. Let me see if I could search in here.
I mean, is that the right way to look at it? I mean, is Nostr, could that be a payment? I mean, I know we've talked about it in meetups and workshops stuff, but do you think that's possible? Like where we just have a NPub and then off to the races, Lightning built in?
I think
it's too early.
I think it's way too early, but I think it's definitely, it might motivate mainstream adoption. I know there are some people that really believe that, specifically Max. I know Max Webster, has a theory at least, or hypothesis that might be the case. But it's way too early to tell. It's obviously Bitcoin and Lightning should survive without Nostr, but Nostr might be like kind of gas on the fire, hopefully, for some of this stuff.
I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to this weekend when we do the hackathon is like, what are these builders thinking? Because we have Nostr, like what are they thinking? And then in Nostrica, they're doing a hackathon. Are they doing a hackathon? Probably, yeah. And so like and then Bolt.Fund's doing a Nostr hackathon right now. So it's going to be interesting to see like all these projects and see like, are they all thinking the same as far as where this is headed? So that's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to see how that kind of plays out. Scoresby said the same thing you said. He said, great write-up on micropayments from way back in the beginning of the web today. Excellent work. And then BS Lucas says, thanks for the comment and the micropayment.
Oh, okay. BS Lucas is actually on here. Okay, cool.
So, yeah, kind of cool. I think we're done with our top 5 stories. This one was your story. U.S. rolls out emergency measures after Silicon Valley Bank collapse.
Yeah, I just thought we'd talk about this a little bit when we touched on it a little bit on the first piece. We don't have to talk much on it, but apparently, like over that weekend where I think it was like Friday, the announcement around Silicon Valley Bank, not having a bank run. And then I think it was Saturday or maybe Sunday, the Treasury or the Fed, or I don't know who was involved. The government said, you know what, even though Silicon Valley Bank doesn't have the money, we're going to give them money to be able to pay all of their customers what funds they had with us. And so they effectively covered the bank. In this article, there's a little more details on how that'll work. Apparently, this applies system wide, and it's not just a Silicon Valley Bank. But if you, as a bank, if you own U.S. Treasuries, they're basically allowing you access to an equivalent amount of loans, I guess, in like US dollars that you can pay out to your customers. So it's kind of like a two-sided win for the government, because it's now giving banks more reason to hold the government's debt. And then they're also like giving the banks, they're also getting to kind of prop up the economy. And it's kind of concerning. I mean, we've since seen a huge jump in Bitcoin's price, and I would guess I don't watch the stock market, but I guess the stock market too, just because this spells inflation. There was a few other posts on Stacker News that showed the Fed's balance sheet and how it was like tapering off given the rising rates that we were having. But this recent injection of liquidity from the Fed basically erased like 4 months of rate pain that we had in the economy. So, the basic takeaway here is, more inflation will continue.
Yeah, I think if you click on that, I just posted the comment if you hit refresh there. So how do you pronounce that right there, Keyan? If you click that first comment, I just posted a tweet, or it's probably recent. There you go. So I recognize this Twitter account because I see it all the time, getting quote retweeted and stuff like that. But I was going to say Bala.
No,
Balaji. There you go. He literally had this kind of really, I thought it was super spicy post, but he said the bit signal. How do you ring the fire alarm on the internet? How do you show it's not a false alarm? I'm putting up the bit signal. 1 million in BTC to alert us to the stealth financial crisis. 1,000 per tweet for the best 1,000. Reply with your charts, graphs, stats, memes. Bring attention to what is happening because the central banks, the banks, and the bank regulators have bankrupted all of us. They hid their insolvency from you, their depositors, and they're about to print 2 trillion to hyperinflate the dollar. In the digital age, this will happen very quickly. So buy Bitcoin now and get your coins off exchanges. And yeah, I read this the other day and it was just amazing the amount of information that's there. So he's a really big account and a lot of people saw that. So
yeah, Balaji is really interesting. I think Stanford dorm room started like some kind of genomic company that had a several $100 million exit when he was quite young, I think. And he then went on, I think, to do a variety of things, but joined Andreessen Horowitz. He started, do you remember earn.com?
No.
Yeah, earn.com was a thing. It was a Bitcoin only product where they were basically trying to do micropayments for email, all this kind of stuff. Very early, I think it was like 2017 or so. Got acquired by Coinbase, joined Coinbase. Now Coinbase Earn is, I think, Balaji's project. I think he also encouraged them to add a bunch of other.
So I know Coinbase Earn. I remember that.
Yeah. So he was responsible for that. And then he was also responsible for bringing like a barrage of shit coins to what we call shit coins to Coinbase. But also like still, he's kind of a fence sitter. He's not a maximalist, but he's smart enough to appreciate maximalism.
I mean, look at the tweets and the views on that. I don't know if you can scroll down and see it, but yeah, look,
3.1 million.
It got a lot of people looking at that.
Well, he's giving out $1 million for memes.
So
yeah.
All right. Then the next top story is another one. I think we both agree this probably should be, or not top story, but should be.
It's controversial. It's nice.
I mean, it's just as developers, builders, we should all know. Terry Labs wins restraining order against Lightning Labs over Taro protocol. This is from the block and rsync 25, 12 comments, 2,236 sats. What happened?
Yeah. So my understanding of this is there's a blockchain startup called Tari Labs where they do some kind of, blockchain thing with assets or whatever. And Tari sounds enough like Taro that they took issue with Taro being named Taro. And so I guess on the grounds of their trademark that they own on Tari, they went after Lightning Labs and basically got them to stop. I think the consequence of this is they'll probably have to rename Taro to something else.
Really?
And that's basically it. I mean, a restraining order sounds like a lot. It sounds like Elizabeth Stark was like in their office, like throwing chairs or something, but it's mostly just like a trademark name thing, and Lightning Labs will have to change the name of Taro to something else.
How is I never understand that, Keyan, but how does a company like Terry or whatever they're called, can they just do that even though and I feel like Taro is making way more progress than Terry, right? I don't know.
I mean, so
legalese is always interesting.
Yeah, it's weird, but I mean, imagine you're the Beatles and someone wants to start a boy band called the Beatle, and they're faking a British accent, and they have shaggy hair and whatever. But there's a reason these kind of laws exist, because it's an effort to prevent people from exploiting the image and impression of a positive impression of an existing company for their benefit, basically stealing their kind of public image from them. In this case, it doesn't make a bunch of sense. I had never heard of Tari Labs, but I don't know. It's kind of like it's maybe a legally gray here. In some cases, it's like obvious that maybe this should be, that maybe the laws make sense. In this case, it seems maybe like a bit of an overreach legally.
Yeah, I love what Merch said. He said, "Well, that's silly. It's not even the same word. Besides, TARO is an acronym for Taproot Asset Representation Overlay." So, cool. I think that's all the stories that we have this week. Do you got
so we can go into some top stuff. Do we have any?
Yeah, let me pull that up. Yeah, look at that.
Super stat segment here. We got Scoresby.
Oh, I need to bring that up. So last Scoresby came out this week, and we were I forget which meetup we're at this week, but he was like, "Yo, Car, they forwarded the bounty to you or something." And in my Stacker News account, I have like have a big bounty, and I think that's what that is right there. So
what happened?
So I guess, do you remember that thing I was talking about last week before the end of the show, where we were talking about like what's happening during South by for Austin? And then I was like, "Oh, I made a whole."
Oh, right.
And then Ben Carmen went underneath there and he like threw a link in there for me, and I was like, "Oh, thanks, Ben." But I guess Scoresby something happened with Scoresby, and then he sent over the sats to me, and so I have some sats.
Oh, I see. Okay, so what actually happened was Scoresby got awarded what should be yours on a bounty, and he sent them to you after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Really great guy.
That makes sense. Yeah. Lots of big stackers this week. I'm number 4, which is awesome. Exius.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I'm dropping off the charts here, guys. I'm a shadow of my former self. Big spenders. So Jack, who I believe paid for the Bitcoin events, which is cool. Yeah, I'm the next biggest spender. Exius, Uncle Sam Toshi. Now also a big spender. Lots of big spenders this week. And let's see what how we're doing with Cowboys. Let's see here. That's right. I'm still topping the charts.
You should do. Let me ask Stackers this. Stackers, would you like to have your cowboy shared on like Nostr or social media? It would be cool to see a list of, do you know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, I don't know, more cowboy stats on social media somewhere, or like on Nostr.
We already share.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we shared the picture of this chart on social media, and we're like, here's all the top Cowboys. Get them. Or whatever.
That's awesome.
Giddy up.
We got some boosts from last week's episode of Stacker News Live. This is from Blockchain Book. He says, "Got asterisk." I don't know what that means. And then he also said, this is from SNL 58 Dystopian Chip Implants. I'm from the future in tech for bailed out. I don't know, but he sent us some stats for it. Cool. That's all we got. Keyan, what are you doing this weekend?
What am I? Oh, I got to move. I got to really move.
Yeah. How's that going?
I haven't even started. We got the keys, but we haven't even begun moving yet. So we're good.
So you got to move, and then you're judging the hackathon.
I am judging the hackathon. That would be, so I might move during that morning and then come judge the hackathon and then come start moving again. I don't really know, but it's a lot of garbage I have to do this week. How about you other than the hackathon?
Yeah, so we got the hackathon tomorrow. I'm going to get here back at 7, and then we have a team headed over there at the Commons. We're going to launch it, and then it's going to be fun. I can't wait, dude. I'm actually looking forward to the hackathon because that's actually the time I get to kind of be back and just like get inspired and see what everybody's doing. It's a lot of fun, dude. Hackathons are a lot of fun.
You going to join a team?
No. Car just wants to be there.
Have you ever participated in a hackathon?
The Bolt.fun one when we did it last year here.
What did
kicked
you
it off? I was trying to make like a Figma front end for like LN Proxy type of thing.
Oh.
Yeah. But it was fun. I like doing it. I like doing the design stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, Stackers, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Zap.